Good morning. Happy Sunday, everybody. I feel like it's been a while. Don't mind me, just knocking everything. Um, yeah, it's been a minute. After the Oscars, I was kind of like, I just need a little break. So, um, yeah, the Oscars was a lot. I feel like I don't know about you guys, but I'm like so ready to not be thinking about the Oscars for a while. And everybody's like, "Oh, who's gonna win? In 2026?" I'm like, I don't. I've only seen two new releases this year. I'm not thinking about that yet. I have so many movies I want to see. So not too worried about that yet. But yeah, it's been. I've been watching lots of movies still, just not new stuff. I wanted to pull up my letterbox because I would love to have more people to follow. This is me. You can't even really see it, but that's me. I've been watching lots of sci-fi, if you can't tell, or I guess is this fantasy anyway? Um, yeah, I've been having a lot of fun watching different stuff. I watched RoboCop for the first time this week. I can't believe I've never seen that. That was an adventure. Yeah, I just never seen it. So it was fun watching it and being like, oh, I can see why people like this. Part of it was my husband and I are interested in the video game, and we were like, it seems crazy to play this without having seen the film, or at least the first one. So that's part of why we watched it. Because I don't know, it just looked like a fun game. So anyway, that's my letterboxed in case anybody's on there because I love Letterboxd and I log all my movies on there. Um, yeah, and I watched Mickey 17. I'm working on a review for that one, and I really, really liked it. Spoilers, I guess, for my video, but I thought it was really great. I mean, I knew I was gonna like it. I like the rest of Bong Joon Ho's stuff, so something with Robert Pattinson in it was an easy sell for me. So, um, yeah, that wasn't too difficult to enjoy for me. I love sci-fi. I love Bong Joon-ho's humor, and I think Robert Pattinson is incredible in that movie and just in general. So it wasn't a big surprise. Today though, we're talking about Godzilla. I love Godzilla. I rewatched it a week ago for this because I've been trying to, I don't know, your memories of movies, at least for me, kind of change as you watch them because you change. Like this quote I heard somewhere that was like, um, as you watch movies, the movies themselves don't change, but you change. And I watched this lovely 4K Criterion collection that my husband got me for Christmas this last Christmas. And it's really incredible what they've done here. It looks really good. The other time I've seen it was not this nice. And I love the Criterion collection. I'm a big fan. And I especially love this one. I'm going to pull it out because I love so you've got these beautiful discs, right? And then there he is. Hello. It's kind of hard to see him. Here we go. And you've got the Blu-ray and the 4K. The Blu-ray has more of the bonus features and stuff, and then it's got this lovely packet with, I think, an essay. The cast and crew. Yeah, which I have not read. I'm a fake fan. But yeah, I really love this. It's just is so great. But yeah, the 4K is really incredible. It also has the what do they call it? Along with the Godzilla King of Monsters, the 1956 Americanized version, which I had never heard of. And so we watched part of it after watching the original, and oh my gosh, it's so crazy. Because it takes like footage from the original movie and like writes in this American guy. There's no American in the original film at all. It's all Japanese people. And it's all in Japanese, obviously. It's for a Japanese audience, right? And so it was just really kind of wild to me that they like it felt like a self-insert character for an American guy. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be here in Japan, and it's so bizarre because they, in order to localize it, they were like, what if we just had the American explain everything and not use subtitles at all? So either people are speaking perfect English, or there's like a moment where he's at like a press conference and he's like, he turns to this Japanese guy and is like, my Japanese is not as good as I thought it was. Could you explain to me what they just said? And I was like, that's so crazy. But anyway, that was the version internationally for a long, long time. And I just didn't know that because I've only ever seen the original version. And I just was like completely baffled that this exists. I do want to watch the whole thing eventually. And maybe I'll do a video on it because I just was like so baffled that this existed because it feels so strange to what the original movie was doing. Anyway, hi, how are you? Just going on a rant about the American version of Godzilla, the original one. Yeah, let me pull up a picture of Godzilla. I have a few. I like this one. Godzilla, that's why we're here. But yeah, I love Godzilla. I think my first like introduction to like kaiju movies was Pacific Rim, which feels a little late because I was probably like 17, I think, when that came out. But ever since then, I've been obsessed. So I've watched, lots of Godzilla movies. Mostly, my biggest blind spot as far as Godzilla goes is the like Japanese ones from like the not 80s, but like post this movie. But I've seen like all the American ones. Yeah, same. I love Godzilla. Just like it's amazing that I just so much of Godzilla's just iconic. The way he looks, the way he sounds. And even like before I started really watching Godzilla movies, I was already like, okay, this is what Godzilla sounds like. This is what he looks like. It's his very distinct style, I guess. Yeah, I love Godzilla. And I love this Godzilla movie. I think it's kind of wild that this movie kind of created its own genre. Like, I don't think kaiju movies were really maybe there was stuff like this before then, but it wasn't really a thing until this movie came out. And not only that, it's like it's also a commentary on like American uh you know the bombs in the 40s and everything, and just how people were reacting to that, and kind of this undefeatable force, and how do you like reckon with something like that. And it's interesting to me watching this again after having seen Godzilla minus one, which I think this would be a really good double feature, the 54 version of Godzilla and Godzilla minus one. And they both are like about the same time period, but one was made in the 50s and then one was made in 2 years ago or whenever that was. And their interpretations of what Godzilla means to people and like what people are like interpreting what's happening are very different. Like in this movie, it's very much like, oh, we're really sad that we have to deal with this and that we have to kill this creature because it was just reacting out of its home being destroyed. That's kind of the story here. And then in Godzilla minus one, it's more, I don't know. It just feels different, I guess. I need to watch Godzilla minus one again. I've seen it twice when it came out. I saw the black and white version and the color version. I think the color version is better. I don't think it was made to be in black and white because some stuff I was like, oh, it doesn't translate as well. Oh, is Godzilla minus one on Max or Godzilla? Yeah, I think most of the Godzilla movies are on Max, if I remember right. A lot of them are, um, which is fun. I do want to watch more of the kind of sillier ones. I don't know if that's the right term. I've seen one with Mothra in a film class. So I've seen that one, but there's so many. I think the Criterion Collection has a collection of a bunch of them, and I've thought about getting it, but I already have, this Godzilla in 4K, so I don't really want to buy it again. Oh, are you? Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I rewatched it like a week ago, and it's really good. There's a lot of stuff that I was like really impressed with that I just was like, how did they do that? Like this isn't a very great still, but you can kind of see the people in the front here. And then there's like Godzilla in the back. It looks so good. You just really sells like the scale of everything. I don't know. This is, a 71-year-old movie because it came out in 54. And it's just, again, this still is not really great. It looks a lot better in the 4K version that I have. It's just impressive. Like, these people are running away, and then you have the giant Godzilla in the back with, like, all the power lines, really giving you that sense of scale and how just, like, big this creature is. Anyway, I'm so impressed with what they were able to do. And then one of my favorite parts is when you see Godzilla for the first time in the day, which when I first watched it, I was kind of like, oh, because I'd seen, stills from, excuse me, that like big ending scene where he's walking around the town, and this I thought was really interesting because it gives you, it's almost more scary to me because this seems more like, oh, you could just come across him any time of the day. Like, he's not just, like, showing up at night, like a vampire or whatever. But, like, he's just always there and will just show up whenever. And just seeing all the people, like, running away. Again, another cool shot of having the Godzilla in the back and then all these people moving, giving you a sense of scale. It just, yeah, it's really, really great work. I love it. Yeah, I was thinking too about how cool it is that, like, not only did it invent a genre, but it feels like it was, at least in Japan, very, like, it seemed like it spoke to them because it was really popular at the time. Um, and I think that's one thing I love about monster movies is kind of, especially older ones, looking back and being like, what fear were they trying to capture here? Like, what were what were people in Japan worried about in 1954? Or, like, I rewatched the 30s Dracula a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, what were people in the US afraid of in the 30s? It's just interesting thinking about that. And then, even now, a lot of our horror movies kind of talk about stuff that we're also afraid of. And I think that's really cool that we have a genre that's really not just monster movies, but, horror in general, talking about like what people are fearing and thinking. And it really tells you a lot about just the culture in general. Because, I don't know, I feel like a lot of movies don't get into what people are afraid of. It's more, I don't know. I just think horror's cool for that. and monster movies are really good for that kind of thing. Also the guy, I don't think I have a picture of him. Hold on. Who plays the scientist man? He was in I guess I don't. He was in what's it called? Seven Samurai, the same movie. The same year this came out. Okay, here's a still of him. This is also not a really great still, but whatever. This guy, he's also in Seven Samurai, which came out the same year in Japan, which is kind of wild to me. He's a busy guy. I should get a still of him from Seven Samurai. Hold on, I'll just pull that up. His name is, I'm not going to say it right, Takayashi Shimurai. I have seen half of Seven Samurai. But the whole time I was watching this movie, I was like, what do I know this guy from? Yeah, here he is. Hold on. Okay, there he is. And Seven Samurai. And then here he is. And Godzilla. Both like huge, huge Japanese movies. How fun is that? I love finding stuff like that where you're like, oh, so and so was working on this and this at the same time. Speaking of, this is like a huge tangent. But I think it's crazy that let me just make sure I'm saying this right. That oh, what's his name? Francis Ford Coppola released 2 movies in the same year, and they're both really good. He released The Conversation and The Godfather Part 2 in the same year. How the heck did he do that? I would love to read a book about him making, his back to back The Godfather in 1972 to The Conversation to The Godfather Part 2, all within the span of like 3 years. And then, to go from that from Apocalypse Now, which I know there's a documentary about, and I have been wanting to watch that, but holy crap. How? Yeah, I think it'd be fun to do a Francis Ford Coppola movie ranking. He's got some interesting stuff in here, because some of it's really good and some of it's just okay. How old is he? Sorry to be on this huge tangent. I've just been thinking about The Conversation a lot since Gene Hackman passed away. I love The Conversation. It's one of my favorites. I'm sure it'll come up in one of these discussions sometime because it's just incredible. Oh, he's 85. He's old. That's old. I feel very comfortable saying that that's an old age. Yeah, what else? Oh, here's Godzilla eating a train. Yeah, what's up with Godzilla and trains? Oh, hello. Thank you for the follow. Welcome. It's going great. Thank you so much. Just talking about Godzilla's obsession with trains. Like, where did that come from? Oh, thank you so much for the follow, Joe Mama So Hot. That's a great name. Yeah, because I feel like, Godzilla -1 has a scene of Godzilla picking up a train and eating it. Maybe it's just like visually interesting. And maybe Godzilla thinks it's food. Oh, random movie trivia. Okay. I could do a Godzilla one. I actually have one about the Godzilla roar. Hello. It's going so good. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for the follow, Princess Peachy. You just got me to 580 followers. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, I need to do a movie trivia. Let's do a Godzilla movie trivia. So fun fact, the Godzilla roar for this movie specifically, because it sounds like the Godzilla roar, has changed over the years, right? This is from the sound effects wiki, which I didn't even know was a thing until this morning. It says the sound effects team originally tried to create Godzilla's roar by using animal roars that had been edited. They sampled all kinds of birds and mammals, but nothing seemed to be the right match for the reptile-like noises a monster like Godzilla would make. Oh goodness, I'm not gonna be able to say this. Akira Ifukube, who is the film's composer, proposed stepping away from using animal samples. He took a string off his contrabass and rubbed it with gloves soaked in pine tar. I don't know how you would think of this. And then that is where we get Godzilla's roar. So this is not a great still for this because his mouth is full of stuff, but you get the idea. So yeah, that's my movie fun fact. I had prepared that because I was like, I feel like so much of Godzilla's identity is in that sound because you like don't even need to see Godzilla. It's like the music for Jaws, you know, the Dana. You immediately know that that's the shark. Speaking of, I have my Jaws cup here. And that's the same thing for Godzilla. You don't have to see Godzilla to know that that's Godzilla. You hear that distinct cry sound and you're immediately like, oh, that's Godzilla. I'm in trouble. And apparently it's different. I didn't know this because I was looking at this, but I guess it's different in lots of different movies. And I just hadn't even thought about that. But that makes sense that you would do it differently in the 50s than you would in the, 2020s now. Yeah, last year was a fun. Sure. What is it? The music. The music is so good. It's got the I can't even hum it that well. It's the ba ba ba. And I love that shows up in I'm just Godzilla -1 brain because that just came out. Oh, okay. Sounds good. Yeah, the music is really, really good. I really love it. Let me find another still of Godzilla. I like this one. Also, I love this guy. I don't even remember his name. I was watching this with my friends, and we were all joking about how we love that he's wearing sunglasses on top of a eye patch. I mean, it's for his other eye, obviously, but it is kind of a funny look. I don't know if I understand what that means. I mean, I guess you could do that. I love this guy. I just have the IMDb pictures pulled up. Yeah, I also love the it's not a big um part of like what people remember about this movie, but I love the villagers. Like and the name of Godzilla comes from this like group of people who live on this island and it's like they've known about Godzilla for a long time and they have this name for it and like this old man is like I love this trope of like the old man knowing more um about the creature than like everybody else and being like you guys should really be afraid of this thing and this is what we call it and this is what it does. um I love that. And I don't know if I don't yeah, this is not like a Godzilla staple, but it's just an interesting thing that I love that happens. Yeah, so this town that kind of gets stomped on and then Godzilla comes back, which is kind of wild. But yeah, I really love this movie. Oh yeah, and I was talking about this earlier. I love that we have the people moving in the front. Um Yeah, that's true too. We were talking about that with my friends that we watched it with, but it's cool that the government was like, okay, we're not going to come up with a name for this. We're going to use like the local colloquial name for this creature given to us by that old man that I just had showed. I think he was the one that said it, but everybody was calling it that. And they were like, yeah, we're going to call it Godzilla. Or Gojira. In this case, but we call it Godzilla. But yeah, I really, really, I love Godzilla. He's the best. Yeah, here's Eye Patch Man again. And I love the sense of scale, not even just with like Godzilla itself, but we've got scenes like this that have like tons and tons of fishermen that are just like reckoning with like not being able to find any fish, I think is what the problem is, if I remember right. And I don't know. I just love that it's not just affecting the people in the town. I feel like a lot of Godzilla movies are like, oh, Godzilla is attacking the town and everyone in the town is in trouble. But it's showing that like the economy is affected not just because the town is literally destroyed, but you also have people who are like fishermen for a living that are being affected because of the fish supply. Is it because Godzilla's eating all the fish? Is that why? I could be misremembering. It's oh yeah, and I guess spoilers for the end of the movie, but it's all underwater. This is like quite the look with the eye patch and the scuba gear. Is this really what scuba gear looked like in the 50s? I must have been. Because this is how they looked at the end. I guess when they filmed, I was looking this up too, when they filmed the ending. Oh, that Godzilla was eating all the fish. Okay. I thought maybe it was because he was like, radiating the fish to death. I feel like that's more what's happening in Godzilla -1, because they see the fish, but they're all just like dead on top of the water. Yeah. And then in this movie, it's maybe because Godzilla's eating the fish, but they can't find the fish. So, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I think I love that too about Godzilla. It's not like there's a hard and fast rule that Godzilla has to be the same and everything. And even within the same movie, I feel like sometimes Godzilla like changes size. Which I don't think is a bad thing. Like if you were to come across a creature like that, here's another good still. I think the way that you would like describe it would be different if you were like in a village like this versus in a town, So it doesn't really matter to me if the size is consistent. So, yeah. And he changes in size. I think he's bigger in -1. And he gets pretty big in like the American movies. Is that Legendary Pictures that does those? I can't remember. But like the new, Godzilla X Kong, Godzilla versus Kong, those ones, I feel like Godzilla's like really big. And then they had to give King Kong like an axe to be able to fight Godzilla. There's no way King Kong would win against Godzilla. That always baffled me. I'm like, what? How do we even think that there's any kind of competition? Because Godzilla's just like not Godzilla. King Kong's just like a big monkey. They had to give him an axe, and he literally just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Because King Kong originally is not even that big. Anyway. Yeah, and this whole sequence is just really incredible and goes on for a long time. Like, that's a lot of effect shots, and they were just like, we're gonna pack these in at the end. We're gonna build one town for Godzilla to destroy, and that's it. Look at him eating the power line. Oh yeah, aren't there people on this one? Isn't that where the news crew is? And they're like narrating like, oh, Godzilla is blah blah blah. Oh, he's so good. I think the human cast, obviously, it's not, I don't know. I think with Godzilla movies, it varies how good interesting the humans are. I think it's fun that there's a love triangle, and I really like the dad character and how conflicted he is about killing Godzilla. I think that's a really interesting plot line because you don't always get that in Godzilla, because Godzilla is always like, it depends. Like in the American versions now, Godzilla's kind of seen as this like almost like world police force against other kaiju in the world. And so it's like a necessary evil, basically, that the Americans are just whatever about. They're like, yeah, it kind of sucks that Godzilla's not always conscious of the people in these towns, you know, that he destroys, but it's necessary to protect the world, essentially. Yeah, and the Legendary Pictures American versions that have been coming out for the past like 10 years. And then in this movie, Godzilla is obviously a threat to the people and they're not sure what to do, but it's not like, oh, Godzilla is evil. It's more Godzilla is Godzilla's home has been destroyed, and I feel bad because it's not like it's acting out of just anger. I mean, it is acting out of anger, but it's not unfounded. It's not just mean. The Godzilla in Godzilla -1 is just mean. I feel like just very mean-spirited, and I think I wasn't the only one to notice that. It's just kind of this really angry Godzilla. So, yeah. There's the town destroyed. The most evil Godzilla. I also think Godzilla from Godzilla -1 kind of looks like a cat. Hold on. I'm going to pull up a picture because I feel like I need to back that up. -1. He's also like really scary looking. Where's it? I'm like looking at these pictures and now I'm like, this Godzilla, maybe it's just this. Also, this whole scene. Oh, that's so bad. Why is it so small? There we go. This whole scene is definitely one of the scariest scenes in any Godzilla movie, in my opinion. Like, look at that. But can you kind of see the cat face with like the little nose? And I mean, the eyes are kind of crazy. Yeah, this Godzilla is just like really scary. I need to watch Shin Godzilla. That's the one that I really need to see. And I've heard really good things about that one, but I have not seen it. So, I don't have anything to say about it, but I've heard it's really, really good. So, look at him walking away. I don't remember this. Anyway, I really like Godzilla. I don't have much more to say other than I think Godzilla's really great. Yeah. I do want to watch more Godzilla movies. I feel like I've seen some, but there's definitely more I want to see. Oh, I also wanted to show this. I thought this was fun. This is from behind the scenes of the movie. And it's just fun seeing like, I don't know. It's wild to see Godzilla like next to regular people. Sorry to ruin like the illusion or whatever, but I love the kind of behind the scenes stuff for stuff like this. Yeah, miniatures are so cool. Can we talk about that? I was watching Poseidon Adventure this week, and I just was like, oh yeah, in the 70s when you had a boat that you needed to like flip over, you would flip over a miniature boat and it would look really good. And I just feel like we were watching Alien last night too, which I'm talking about tomorrow. Um and I just was like, it makes me, and there's, tons of great miniatures in that. You've got like the ship and the planet, and just so much of it just looks so good still, because it was, they used miniatures. And it makes me sad that so many movies now just totally rely on um VFX. And I'm not anti VFX. I think it can be used in really incredible ways, like, for creatures like Gollum, and like, I love the Planet of the Apes movies, and those look incredible. The new ones, not the old ones. And so, and like the Avatar movies look really good, but so much of VFX is kind of treated as like a band-aid that you like put on afterwards. And it works so much better when people like plan for it. That's why Godzilla -1 looks so good. They had a tiny, tiny budget, but because they had planned ahead of time that, like, okay, these are our VFX shots, let's hand these off to our VFX team and just let them work on it. Versus, like, Marvel movies are especially notorious for this, where they, like, change their mind last minute. And so the VFX teams just have to scramble and try and come up with something that looks like somewhat okay, but there's so many VFX shots and so many changes that there's only so much you can do. And it's not because the VFX teams are bad or anything. They're just being thrown all this stuff that you can only do so much with. I was thinking about a modern movie that uses miniatures that I really love was the new Blade Runner movie. I was like, it's space something. It's a sci-fi movie. Let me see if I can find any pictures of that, because I just remember reading about that and I was like, oh yeah, no wonder it looks so good. I wonder. Yeah, okay. Let me pull this up. But like so much of that. Oh, here's a whole article. Okay. It's not going to look super great, but you can still kind of see. So, I guess Weta, I love Weta. They did all this stuff for Lord of the Rings, so that makes sense that they're still doing miniatures. So, here's some of the buildings. Like, look at how cool this looks. I love this one. That's crazy. Yeah, it's not fun, but they did miniature. I love Blade Runner 2047. Highly recommend if you haven't seen that one. The size of these miniatures, however, aren't as small as one could imagine. I know on the Lord of the Rings set, they started calling them bigatures, because some of those are huge. Like the Minas Tirith one. I can pull that up too, since we're talking about it. But like, look at that. It looks so good. I love how many, oh my gosh, look at the tiny tweezers. And then, just the building details. And they added graffiti. That's so fun. Like, look at, with all the lighting and stuff. Oh my gosh. Miniatures are just so cool. They never look bad. Like, they always look good. Yeah, let me pull up the Lord of the Rings miniatures, because those are really fun too. Less modern. I mean, it's still... Okay. But yeah, here's one with this guy. He's been working with Weta for a long time. I can't remember his name, but if you've watched any of the behind the scenes for Lord of the Rings, you'll recognize him. And then there's like the Minas Tirith one is particularly impressive, I think. Because, like, look at this. They're on a ladder. They have to use a ladder to, like, work on it. It's huge. So, yeah, I can see why they called them bigatures, because of just how big they are. It's very, very impressive. So I love miniatures. I love anything practical. I love for real explosions too. As an aside, I've been watching a lot of 80s action movies, mostly because I'm like, I want to see a real explosion. And they some of them are really fun. Like the Predator stuff is really good. I'm trying. Are there any like recent movies that have used explosions? I think that's just something that nobody really does anymore. I mean, I get it. It's safer not to do that, and probably costs a lot of money to, make a for real explosion. Movie explosions. Are the Mad Max Fury Road explosions for real? I'm like trying to think. Um, I looked up best movie explosions and I saw I just watched this movie, what's this called? I just watched it. Anyway, but this was a pretty incredible movie explosion. The movie itself is fine. Uh but the movie explosion was really good. What is this called? Oh my gosh. I literally just watched it. Here, let's look at this link cuz it's not saying it. Commando. It's Commando. I think the movie's fine. There are better action movies from the 80s with Arnold Schwarzenegger in them, but this explosion is pretty spectacular. Oh, you know who really does a lot of practical stuff is Christopher Nolan. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the behind the scenes stuff from his Odyssey movie that he's filming right now, but they're like really on the water, on the ships, and I'm curious to see how that turns out because I don't think he's ever done a period piece further back than like the 40s. I really think no, he did the Prestige. That would be like what, the 1800s or something. But he's never done anything that doesn't have some kind of like technology, if that makes sense. Because there's like light bulbs and stuff in the Prestige. Maybe I'm misremembering, but most of his stuff is pretty modern. So I'm curious to see his interpretation of what do they call that kind of movie? The Sandal and Sand or whatever. I'm just making that up, maybe. Okay, what other good explosions are there? Oh. Yeah, a lot of these are pretty old. But yeah, there's just so many. Filmmaking's just fun. There's just a lot of fun stuff to it. And then you've also got your like more serious. I just always assumed that the explosions in Fury Road were fake because they look really saturated, but I think they're real. Maybe not. I didn't mean to go on a rant about movie explosions, but here we are. So that's all I have to say about Godzilla. Now that we're totally on a random tangent, this is not a good picture. Okay. Tomorrow I'm gonna be talking about Alien. In the evening because I work, but I just rewatched it last night. I was planning to watch it last night with some friends, but I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get the 4K in time because I ordered it like a while ago and it finally came in yesterday, so I got to watch it and it looked so good. I'm really excited to talk about it, and especially because now having seen all of Ridley Scott's filmography for my ranking, it was really fun to revisit this after having watched all his other stuff, and it just feels really different from the rest of his movies. So I'm not at all surprised. This was my number one. Spoiler from that video if you haven't seen it, I guess. But it's so good. And I'm really excited to talk about it. And hear what you guys think about it. So yeah. I hope you guys all have a great Sunday, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a good one, guys. Bye.